Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Development Review Board for the Town of Essex. Today is Thursday, September 4th, 2025. We're going to call the meeting to order. It is 6:30 p.m. We'd like to make sure that everybody in the audience has their cell phones muted. Everybody online has their microphones muted at this time. And we'll start off the evening by taking a quick roll call of who's here on behalf of the town and the board. So we'll start with Sharon.
Sharon Kelly, Zoning Administrator.
Jonathan, Planner.
Nick Martin, Board Member.
Stephanie Bixby, Board Member.
Ian Carroll, Board Chair.
Sharon Zukowski, Board Member.
Hubie Norton, Board Member. Dustin Brusso, Board Member.
Trevor Williams, Board Member.
Thank you. First off, we have is agendas additions or changes. Oh, let's make sure we have them. Me? Holy cow. I was so loud before. Yeah. Okay. Any additions or changes to the agenda this evening? Staff?
None.
None. Nick?
None.
Stephanie?
None.
Sharon?
None.
None.
None. Great. Thank you. In which case, I would take a motion to approve the agenda as is.
So moved.
I'll second.
Moved by Dusty, seconded by Nick. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the agenda as is, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. At this point, we now have a section called Public to be Heard. These are for comments from the public regarding any consent agenda items or items that are not on this evening's agenda. We will keep this portion to a total of about 15 minutes. Seeing that the crowd that we have here this evening, I don't imagine that that's going to be a problem. With that, if we have anybody in the crowd this evening here present that would have anything that they'd like to speak about that is not on the agenda. Seeing none. Online, do we have any hands for anybody that has anything they'd like to bring up? Seeing none. We've moved through that quite quickly. Thank you all. We'd move on to approval of the meeting minutes. Do we have any further discussion from the meeting minutes? Everybody got their changes in already? No,
Not yet.
you have not had your changes. You not got your changes in.
No.
All right. Well, then let's start with you, Nick. You have additional changes to the minutes.
Just a couple that I found on minutes from August 21 on line 204 and 205 at the very end. Looks like those lines are from the application. Yes.
I
Okay.
already have that.
Got it? Okay, good.
Thank you. Hubie.
Next one. Minutes from May 29th. Line 172. Towards the end of that line, cannot be.
Yeah.
Those were my only two.
Great. Thank you. Stephanie, any changes?
Nope.
I have none. Sharon?
Nope.
Hubie?
I have a couple. Back on August 21st, line 182 and 183. I believe, like, after on line 183, after the word operation, strike the word or businesses, and then insert like continue along with building construction. So it would read, if when blasting was completed with the activity with a gravel operation, continue along with building construction.
Yeah.
That was the question. Okay, it's not.
Okay.
And I others that provided with Sharon already, and I think that is it. That's it.
Okay. Dusty, any changes? No? Trevor?
No.
Great, thanks. Okay. Then I would take a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
All of them?
All of it.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second that.
Moved by Dusty, seconded by Sharon. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving all of the minutes as amended, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
Mr. Chair, can I ask a question or maybe offer a suggestion on minutes
Yes.
going forward? It's appropriate to get the changes into Sharon ahead.
Yep.
So that we can look at it, but one of the things if members have said they've sent things in, if we're looking online, we don't see those changes.
Correct.
So it would be good if we're making edits to either have them redistributed just prior to the meeting, so that we can see those changes and see whether or not we agree with them. I mean, it's most effective to have them into Sharon so that she can put the edits in.
Yep.
And if it's grammatical, we don't need it, but if anything's substantive, we should be able to review it.
Fair. Correct.
Do you think the changes that we offer should be also in the packet, just in case they don't get in?
I don't think so, because until the minutes are, until we're here looking at it, the minutes are Sharon's. And
Okay.
I think it's just,
So you just want the final,
I think we should have the final one
that would be nice.
prior to the meetings, whether it's posted online, updated with the last minute edits, or the most recent edits available. We're expected to look at these, for those of us who are doing electronically, we're expected to look at them online. And it would be good to just see them, the most current versions available tonight. And then if we're minutes in, then Sharon could easily say, I made an edit here, whatever is needed.
So I'll keep them in draft form, and then the following meeting, I'll write approved so that you can sign them. Or you can check them, I'll write approved, make changes, I can have the list of what the changes were, you can go to line numbers and check them before you sign them.
I just think we had to be able to see what all the changes are. Number one, so if Nick offers a change, I don't go looking, I don't try to offer
Right.
it again, and same with what we're there.
Yeah, if we'd all get them in before the meeting, and then maybe by the Friday when the packets come out, the final draft could be there for us to look at.
But we won't get them because the packets come out, and that's when we look at the minutes.
Right.
So
I always look at them before, but.
my thinking was just to have them a couple days, whether it's email distributed or just reposted online a couple days prior to the meeting, so we know to go in and just take a quick look.
I'll speak to Catherine about that.
That'd be it.
It probably will be bumped to the following meeting. We'll just keep them in draft, and you'll have to look at them again to see if your changes are there, and then approve them, if you want to do that. But we don't sign approval letters until the minutes are
But-
approved.
Even bumping them to the next one, how do we know that? I mean, otherwise we're gonna go through and, the idea is
Reapprove.
not to have to vet each change here in the room if it's been submitted.
Well, because the new minutes should have all the proposed changes listed in that set of minutes.
Is it
I don't-
is it possible to, if they're published on Friday and we've had a chance to review them, perhaps like Tuesday, we would have an updated version of the minutes sent out electronically to everybody on the board? Just
I can ask
any
for-
changes?
Or to Sharon's point, maybe send the updates that you've inserted into the draft, into whatever we're looking at, have that list distributed, so we can all see what the update, I'm not questioning tonight at all, but I don't know what UB sent in earlier. I don't know what, Sharon sent in earlier, and that's just, I'd like to,
So anything that they've given to me, like grammaticals, or I spelled the name wrong, or I transposed a name, or I have a wrong name, I don't think you guys need to see.
don't need it.
Right.
Substantial changes, those go in the minutes of what you're gonna approve next.
But they don't go in, the minutes. But the thing is, if we're trying to approve,
Okay, whatever you guys wanna do.
no, I'm just saying, if we're trying to approve the minutes, if we don't see the changes, we don't see, if we're looking at a copy that has no edits in it, I don't know what was put in. We've approved them now, and we've, in almost sight unseen with some of the newer changes. I'm not talking grammatical.
So, again, couple choices. Don't approve them and wait for them to come back to you yet again at the next packet. But I think it creates more work.
That doesn't solve it. It's the same thing. We need to have the minute. I'm just, if we have it here, even if we wait till the next packet, we wouldn't be looking at minutes at all.
Well, I think,
Anyways.
honestly, these minutes got away from all of us. We had so many, and they were ugly meetings, to be honest.
We're now
So
caught up.
Typically, you'll only see one set come before you, and in those minutes, you'll see that anyhow, I'm happy to do whatever.
We would review the minutes. Ideally, we would see this meeting's minutes at the next meeting, have an opportunity to make changes, and then, which would not be approved, and then go back for corrections and then approve those.
But that, again, that putting an extra cycle into that, all I'm
Yeah.
suggesting is that any corrections that are submitted to Sharon once the packet comes out, because that's when we should be looking at them and reviewing them, submitting them in for edits. Non-grammatical changes should be shared with the commission so that we know what's changed.
Right.
Otherwise, we have to review, and if it's one set of minutes, maybe that can be done, is this was changed, this was changed, this was changed.
Well, I only think grammatical type stuff should be brought to my attention. I think if you have substantial changes.
That should be done
at the
here.
table.
Yeah, that's what I agree. I think if it's grammatical nitpicky stuff, that can go in ahead of time, because I'm just to be honest, I'm never going to find it. If we have substantial changes, a board member should bring that up while we're reviewing them before we approve, and then we can approve it with those changes at that meeting, and we would know what those changes are, and we could have a discussion if we agree or not agree.
So with that in mind, there's no need to send anything in to Sharon ahead.
Other than grammatical.
And
But I mean,
That
that,
saves a lot of time now.
Yeah.
it,
I mean, we could
Let's
just
just,
take a whole meeting correcting minutes.
I think it's something to discuss how those changes can be shared amongst the board. And maybe it's as simple as, you mentioned, can it be put in well, it can't be put in the packet because the packet's already been issued. Can it be shared out ahead of the meeting? These are the changes that were requested for the minutes. Then we can all be looking at them and say, I agree with that change, I agree with that change, I agree with that change. Just something to think about, I think, because I think we're missing.
We're gonna change minutes up anyhow. They're gonna be much, much more abbreviated. Very much so. We've already had the discussion internally. We record minutes. They're online recordings from Channel 17. But I think like,
So
let's,
disagree with that?
I think that, again, I think that we had tough meetings.
But this wasn't, it wasn't, the packets that we did, there's no dispute on those.
Dusty, in all the years you and I have been doing minutes together, it's never been an issue.
No, because we've introduced it. For example, if I sent you a substantive change, you introduced it, here are the minutes, but I changed this from what's online. This was submitted for a change, so it was called out, so that the whole, every member on the commission at that time was able to recognize that it was changed from what was published as a draft.
How about as simple as having Sharon report at the beginning of when we're reviewing minutes?
If there's,
Just reporting the substantive changes that occurred.
I think that to be appropriate. That still gets the efficiency of having those changes put in, especially if something requires a lookup. It gives you the opportunity to look them up, which is a real big advantage, having those be complete.
I still believe that substance changes should be made at the table with
Right.
everybody here. I think grammaticals, and I put Hubie's name wrong, or, spell checks,
Okay.
Missed date.
mistakes.
Okay. Enough cycles on that.
Yeah, but sometimes even, what someone might think of as a grammatical error, could be in fact change the whole meaning of a line.
Right.
Okay? Well, I think this should have been yes, then no. I mean, to oversimplify.
If you guys,
So-
That's
I'm
not
happy to
grammatical,
do
right?
Dusty's suggestion.
That's a change of a change of the whole sentence structure.
Yeah.
Grammatical would be like, reversing, letters in a name, or misspelling a name or, something to that effect.
Have to be-
I think if, to make everybody happy, we can do what Dusty wants to do. We just don't approve them and they come back to you. So they stay in draft form for another cycle of minutes. I think that's delaying everything, delaying approval letters,
Not what I'm
delaying,
asking
just
for.
delaying
Yeah.
that. I know it's not what you're asking for, but we're a very busy office. And
So let's table it for discussion for another time.
Perhaps in 2 weeks when we meet again.
we can pick it up again. Maybe a
This-
workshop, we can have a deeper discussion.
Correct. Yeah.
I was going to suggest this is going to be the shorter of the meetings
Yeah.
anytime in the near future, so.
Maybe.
Yes,
Unless
that's
we
true.
Can't get off the
Although I think we are still working towards a training session on the 18th. So
So maybe the simple takeaway, if anybody, for any board member who submits changes to Sharon that are non-grammatical, to introduce them, put them into the draft that you have so that we can potentially sign them that night, but introduce them at the table.
In addition.
I sent these in to Sharon. I asked Sharon to make a change in minutes on line 182 to make it read something.
yep.
And then the board members will be able to agree or disagree with that change.
It's fair.
And we don't hold up the process.
It's a fair process. I think we could agree on that. I would hope.
It's fine with me.
Okay. We good? The meeting minutes were approved already, so we're on to the next section of the evening. Let's get to our public hearing.
I do have a question. So these minutes that have all just been approved that I'm going to make changes to, am I submitting another draft with those changes to all of you, even though
We've-
they're approved?
We've already approved
I
them,
know.
so you would submit them to
Okay,
me.
so that's fine.
Yep. Okay, all good? All right. Next section we have is the public hearing. Prior to starting the public hearing, I'm going to ask that everyone that's in the room that's either planning on speaking, has maybe the intention of speaking, anyone online that's thinking about speaking pertaining to the items that are in the public hearing, I would ask that you all raise your right hand. Online, I'll ask that you unmute and raise your right hand if you agree to the following statement. Do you affirm that the evidence that you're giving in the case under consideration shall be the whole truth, nothing but the truth, under the pains and penalties of perjury?
I do.
I do. Lois, we got you. Thank you. Okay.
We'll have you go with.
Up to the, yep, you guys can come on up to the table with the super official nameplate. First item we have this evening is a preliminary final review minor subdivision and site plan amendment. This is from the Eli Family LLC, proposing a minor subdivision for footprint lots associated with a proposed duplex, an existing commercial building located at 45 River Road, which we did a site visit earlier this evening. Located in the mixed-use development district. Site plan amendment proposed to construct an 18 by 55 foot addition in the existing River Road Beverage and Redemption Center in the rear of the building. Kent, would you start us off with a quick recap?
Yes, of course. So this, I don't think that you mentioned that this has already received sketch approval last in April 24. At that time, it was for 2 triplex buildings. Now that's been changed to 1 duplex. And there were some other small changes made as well. I think I'll just skip right to my the recommendations that I have.
Page.
On page 13 of 14. How are these numbered? The last page. Well, not the very last page.
14 of 14?
Starting on line 457.
Thank you. Yes, line 457. So staff's recommending that the DRB continues this application so that the issues that have been identified in here can be addressed by the applicant. I did check with Public Works ahead of time to see if the issues that they raised could be made as conditions of approval. for this application, and they said no. The changes that they needed to see were too significant to just be conditions. But it did seem worthwhile to bring this application back to the DRB tonight anyways, because there are some other issues besides what Public Works has raised that would be really helpful for you to provide input on, in particular if it's an issue that would really change the design of the project or mean that the project would be denied. The applicant would want to know that before they go to the effort of making the revisions for Public Works. So it seemed like this would be still useful to come here tonight. So the main issues have been summarized here. There are 9 that I summarized, and I'll just run through those really quickly. One, the applicant just needs to indicate the heights of the duplex. That's pretty straightforward. We just need to make sure that it fits in with regulations. I don't see that that would be difficult for them to provide that information. The second one is a little bit more complicated. Our zoning regulations indicate that not more than 2 dwellings can be served by a single driveway. There is an adjacent residential unit that is already sharing this driveway through an easement that they have. So this would mean that there'd be 3 dwelling units that would be sharing the driveway, which goes against our zoning regulations. Number 3, there are impacts to steep slopes, including slopes over 20% grade. And the applicant has provided a waiver request, which is included in the staff report. So the DRB needs to determine whether they can grant that waiver request. The fourth one is there's some ADA requirements that need to be met in the plans. That should be pretty straightforward, but an important thing to include. Number 5, circulation for delivery vehicles and emergency vehicles might be infeasible. So the applicant should really demonstrate that the routes are adequate. Part of that is relating to the comments that the fire department had, and part of it is me just looking at the design that there is, in particular seeing where the delivery vehicle location is, and that needing to be a turn around the building, just wanting to make sure that that's actually going to be feasible for the vehicles. Number 6, the applicant's not proposing additional landscaping as would be required in the regulations. The way the regulations are written, the DRB might determine that those are not really needed, and that the landscaping that's there or the landscaping that's proposed is adequate, even if it doesn't specifically meet the regulations. The applicant's not proposing to provide the required lighting, but the DRB also might determine that what is there is adequate. And then the next one for 8, there's a number of public works requirements, comments. They've been provided to the applicant and are included in the staff report. And the police and fire department have expressed concerns. This is number 9. So the DRB should really determine how the applicant should address those concerns. Those are the key issues that I identified.
Thank you, Kent. Board members, questions for staff on this? Trevor, I'll start with you on your side.
No, I don't have any questions.
None. Dusty? No? Yubi?
Well, I wonder right off the bat, the warning says the site plan amendment is proposed to construct an 18 by 55 foot addition, and I'm seeing the plans are not in agreement. One says 18 by 55, another one says 20 by 55. Which is the correct one? Is the warning correct or not?
It's a good question. I'm not sure which is the correct number.
Because we have the plans, like I say, one shows 990 square feet for that addition, the other one shows, another one shows 1,100 square feet.
It's 990.
So the 18 by 55 is the correct dimension,
Correct.
not the 1,100. Okay, so I guess the warning would be correct in that sense.
That's good.
All right, but the plans aren't, so,
One sheet.
Anything else?
no.
Sharon?
No.
Stephanie, any questions for staff?
No.
Nick?
No.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Let's hear from the applicants. Gentlemen.
Thank you. Brian Courier, Larry Burke, Civil Associates.
Ray Ely, Ely Family LLC. Good to see you all again.
So we were in front of the Planning Commission towards the end of 2024. We received sketch plan approval for a very similar layout. The biggest difference, I'd say, is instead of a duplex, we proposed 2 triplexes for a total of 6 units, but the access point on the northeast corner of the existing commercial parking lot is the same. So the biggest change from that application to this is a reduction from 6 units down to 2. The reason that the application is a concurrent site plan amendment and subdivision application, or minor subdivision I'd say, is because we're proposing footprint lots underneath the commercial building and underneath the 2 duplex units. When you have multiple structures on an existing lot, which you can imagine in a mixed-use district happens from time to time, that's just the way the attorney, or a way the attorneys can set up the HOA to cover the property. So that's the route that Ray's attorney has chosen, is footprint lots. It's quite common, but that's the purpose of the subdivision piece, purely for, to establish the land underneath the units is to the ownership of that specific unit. We're not looking to establish traditional single-family lots or commercial lots or anything in that regard. So the parcel is roughly 1.4 acres, as I mentioned. It's in the MXD district. The biggest change in the parking lot area is we're proposing to hatch off 4 spaces on the west side of the existing building. When the building received its original site plan approval in the early 80s, there wasn't an ADA ramp on the west side of the building, so there was an adequate fire lane of 20 feet around the structure. Since then, that ramp has been installed, impinging on the 20 feet requirement. So we're planning on hatching off, striping the spaces. You notice today that they're not striped, but striping and hatching off those 4 spaces to ensure that there is a 20-foot fire lane around the entirety of the building. Happy to answer any questions or jump into the staff report recommendations that Kent went over.
Why don't we have you go right into the staff recommendation piece, and then we can get into the questions from there.
Okay. So the first one, the applicant should provide the proposed heights of duplex in the commercial addition to demonstrate compliance with the height standards. So in any other instance, a duplex would be a building permit application. The only reason it's in front of you is because it's a site plan amendment, because there's an existing commercial building on the property with an existing site plan. All right, so typically a duplex would just be a building permit application if this was an undeveloped lot. The reason that's important is because singles and duplex units in the town of Essex don't require building elevations to be submitted, as there's no design review. So in my view, simply stating that will be less than 40 feet required is adequate to satisfy that provision. So we will certainly be less than 40 feet. That's allowed in the MXD district. The design conflicts with zoning regulation. I'm on to the second one. Zoning regulation 31G5, which state that not more than 2 dwellings can be served by a single driveway. The DRB should determine if the design is acceptable, and if so, whether a waiver is required. So Kent and I have different views on this. It didn't come up as an issue in our sketch plan application, but the way we view it is there's 2 units off of driveways is what's being proposed. In the northeast corner of the commercial parking lot, we're proposing a driveway to serve the units. Prior to that, there's a driveway serving the single family unit. So we don't see this as 3 single family units served by a driveway. There's one unit served off a portion of a commercial driveway, and then there's a duplex being proposed from a different curb cut, essentially, on the same commercial driveway. Now, commercial driveways and commercial parking lots have different standards than that of a driveway, right? We have parking spaces have to be 9 by 18. Two-way traffic have to be 20-foot wide, 24-foot wide drive aisles. Fire lanes have to be 20 feet. One-way traffic has to be 20 feet. None of those specifications or standards come into play when you're talking about a driveway. So we think it's pretty clear, and as 6 units, it didn't come up as 7 units being proposed off a driveway at sketch. We were surprised that comment has persisted, but in our view, we're meeting the regulations, so we don't believe a waiver is required. That's 2. So the design proposes to impact steep slopes, including slopes over 20%. The applicant has provided a waiver request. The DOB should determine whether this request should be granted. So those of you who were participated in our walk before the meeting, we circumvented the building site, so you got a good look at what these slopes entail. Roughly the 20% slope area that's being impacted is roughly 1,600 square feet. The maximum vertical rise in the steepest portion is only 4 feet. So, it's a slight undulation in land. I'm not going to say imperfection. But in our view, very much not the intention of protecting waterways by constructing substantially or on sustained 20% slope is what I keep going back to. So in our view, letter of the law, we submitted a waiver request. So if that's the direction the board is okay going, then we'd certainly be requesting that waiver. So number 4 is the site must demonstrate compliance with ADA requirements. So we're less than 24 spaces. I think we required that 1 ADA spot. Likely it'll be next to the 4 spaces we're hatching off as you need van accessibility. So we'll certainly add that ADA spot on our site plan. So the circulation route for, this is number 5, the circulation route for delivery vehicles and emergency vehicles may be infeasible. The applicant should demonstrate that routes are adequate. So we're proposing 20 feet fire lane around the entirety of this building. Generally, that's remaining unchanged from the current condition. In 2019, the Planning Commission approved the canopy and gas pumps in the front of the building, and there's 20 feet from the edge of that canopy to the curbed island along 117. 20 feet. Underneath the canopy, obviously, there's additional space, and we did check. The canopy is higher than a fire truck or a typical tractor trailer or fueling vehicle that would enter the premises, so there is additional space there. But from the edge of the canopy to that curbed island is 20 feet. The only place that we're impinging on the circulation of the existing building is we are proposing a loading zone on the eastern side. Now, it's a small facility. Even with the addition, we're only talking about 3,000 square feet. So we're not talking about large vehicles entering and exiting constantly. It's be pretty few and far in between, let's say, as far as deliveries would go for a commercial property. So we're showing that on the eastern side of the building. My understanding, that's generally where the trucks queue today. From that designated area, from the edge of the pavement, is 20 feet, but from that designated area to the edge of the gravel is 40 feet. So there's ample space around the eastern side of that building.
Yes.
And then in the rear of the building, we're showing a 990 square foot addition. I saw what you're talking about here. Our erosion control plans are labeled incorrectly, but the site plan shows that it's 55 feet long, 18 feet deep for 990 square feet. So from the back of that, addition to the striped spaces on the north end of the parking lot, will leave 27 feet on the east side and 25 feet on the west side. So a two-way parking aisle is 24 feet wide. That's standard parking lot configuration. Spaces are 9 by 18, two-way aisles are 24. Typically one-ways are 20 or 22 feet. Okay. And then as we go to the west of the building, I already mentioned we're hatching off the spaces that are infringing on a 20-foot clear zone around the building in order to give more space to that ADA ramp. But generally speaking, we feel that the circulation around the building is, generally left unchanged. Sure, we're encroaching in a few areas, but in our point of view, the areas we're encroaching far exceed what's required in typical parking lot dimensional standards. So we have had discussion. Well, I would say we haven't had discussions with the fire chief. We've tried to have the fire chief on site. We've invited him multiple times. We've requested comments other than that he doesn't approve of the project. We did receive comments from the fire chief at sketch plan with 6 units with the access in the same place, and the fire department said they would happily support the application. And the rationale behind that is when we started sketch, we had our entrance on the west side of the building. We had it over here, so folks would come in and out on the west side of the building. Fire chief didn't like that because there's an underground fuel tank there. Now, deliveries happen
Daily, we get deliveries.
for fuel, but
Oh, I'm sorry, for fuel,
Yeah.
once every 8 days.
so roughly once a week, and it's not like they're there all day. But okay, we modified the application. Instead of having a curb cut on the northwest corner of the commercial lot, we moved it to the east side. And the rationale behind that is fire truck can make the swing here and not have to go over the underground storage tank if by the off chance they happen to be fueling there and the truck's in the way enough where a fire truck couldn't get by. So that's the change that we made at sketch prior to coming in front of you folks, because we met with planning and zoning and we met with the fire chief, or we circulated that plan amongst all the town departments, and that was the most restricting comment we got back. After we made that change, like I said, the fire chief said he would happily support the application with that change. Now, what's happened since that point, I honestly can't say. We've requested the fire chief to give us some direction or make a counter proposal of something he would be okay with. We haven't received those comments. The comments that are into the staff report, the police chief talks about the access. He asks if we're bringing the access back to the west side of the property. You can read his comments there in the staff report. I think this is important. This is at the bottom of page 12 for page 425. The third time this has come by us, and it appears the entrance has returned to the westernly location that we did not want. So that's incorrect. It's still on the eastern side. Am I wrong with this? From what can I find, they had originally planned the entrance where it is now, then moved the entrance to the east, and we were good. Now it's back to the west, not supporting that. So I don't know what plan the police chief is reviewing, but clearly our entrance is still on the east side. And then the fire chief echoes, he says, I echo the police chief's comments that we've already answered this project with a no. They do not have sufficient fire lane access around the existing commercial property. So we do have 20 feet plus around the entirety of the commercial property. If the fire chief wants more, we'd like a citation and a requirement to go by. I don't think that's asking too much. And they have zero ability to manage parking during their normal business hours to maintain any sort of emergency access. So as far as parking goes, the town has parking regulations for a convenience store, right? So with the addition, the town requires 21 parking spaces. There's 21 parking spaces on this plan. They're not striped now, they will be. But as far as people not abiding by a parking lot striping configuration, if people just park in front of a door, you know, that's something we can't, you can only do so much, right? We're gonna provide the required parking spaces for the users of the facility, and we expect the general public to abide by them. Does that happen every time? You know, no. I mean, I'm sure we've all maybe straddled a space or parked somewhere.
I can tell you it happens every day, unfortunately.
But per the zoning, we're required to provide the parking spots, and that's what we're doing. They never asked us to, they've even asked us to excuse the fire lane requirement when gas tankers are unloading. So, as I've mentioned already, that underground storage tank gets used once every 8 days. You know, it probably takes how long for a truck to unload?
45 minutes.
So
50.
that was the original conversation we had with the fire chief about keeping the access on the western side of the layout. So very short time frame where there may be a vehicle in the general vicinity, and if there was, our argument was, well, you could go the other way if an emergency required something along those lines. So those are the police and fire chief comments. Those are our comments about circulation and delivery vehicles. Would you like me to keep going, or do you want?
You're almost done.
All right. So number 6, the DRB should determine if landscaping requirements have been adequately met. So can you move up, Kent, if you're driving? Or whoever's driving.
Yep.
Karen? So this lighter line here is the existing canopy of trees. As you noticed, there was quite a few of them when we were walking today. So we're planning on, so the darker line here is the clearing limit. So we're more or less clearing to the property line in the rear, but in the front, we're purposefully leaving, 2,000, 3,000 square feet of area vegetated purposefully to have a little bit of buffer zone from the commercial use to the duplex units. So that's what we're providing for landscaping. Like I said, typically a duplex unit, if the lot was only what you had on the screen, this would be a building permit application and there'd be no landscaping requirements as far as zoning is concerned. The zoning requirements for landscaping basically just says, the DRB may require landscaping in order to meet a certain intent, but it's not terribly prescriptive about what that is. It is as far as street trees, shade trees for other things, but as far as residential development, it's not specific. So we feel providing that buffer of trees from the commercial property is adequate as far as landscaping goes. And then lighting is 7. So the lighting on this lot, and there's other things with the lot that would fall under what we call a nonconformity, or a existing nonconformity. It's there in a legal state, right? It doesn't abide by the regulations, but it was implemented before the zoning regulations were put into effect. So generally, the way we've seen past boards look at nonconformities is they should be corrected in the same scale of what's being proposed. Okay, so this was in the Planning Commission in 2019 for that canopy and pump configuration in the front, and lighting didn't come up as something that was to scale as what was being proposed. Right, as far as fixing lighting throughout the entirety of that parking lot, which you can imagine is quite an expense. There's no conduit, there's no light pole bases. It would be a significant cost to light that parking lot per the zoning standards. So we would ask this board to view that nonconformity in the same way that past boards have, and we don't feel that bringing the lighting requirements of this parking lot up to current standards is to scale with what's being proposed. Now, if we were taking the building down and reconfiguring it in some other fashion and we were sliding it further from 117, would we expect the board to require lighting to the full standards of the zoning regs? Certainly. I certainly would expect that. But a residential use in the back of a mixed-use property, that's been in existence for longer than I have. We don't see that in line with what's being proposed. And then number 8, staff recommended the DRB requires the applicant to address the comments submitted by the Public Works. And we can certainly do that. The only piece I would mention with you folks is the traffic portion of it. They talk about a traffic study being required if the 1,000 feet of commercial space should or is part of the application. So this is pretty similar to the links at Lane conversation we had a few weeks ago. The ITE trip generation tables for a convenience store and gas station, land use code 945, is part of the ITE trip generation reference manual. As part of that use, there's only one input for trip generation, and it's gas pumps. So there's 4 gas pumps, regardless of the commercial addition of 1,000 square feet, and this only goes for this land use code 945 convenience store and gas station is only for gas stations between 2,000 and 4,000 square feet. Once you get to larger ones, it's dictated by more. But essentially, a convenience store with a gas station, small scale such as this, again 2,000 to 4,000 square feet. The only input is gas pumps. So there's 4 gas pumps. We're not proposing to change the gas pumps. Therefore, the only increase in trip generation is associated with the duplex unit in the back, which would be 2 peak trips. And Public Works has made it clear only the commercial piece of it is triggering that traffic study. I have had discussions with Public Works about the links at Lane discussion we had, and they agree that no traffic study is required there. So we would expect that to be the case here. Something we'll talk to them about, but while we're here and that's on the list, that's my view of the traffic study is the biggest part of the Public Works comments. And then I already touched on 9. The police department and fire department have expressed concerns. The DRB should determine how the applicant should address those concerns.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate the wrap up. Okay, board members, questions for the applicants. I'll start with Trevor.
I'm a little confused about the lighting. You're talking about the lighting for the new buildings, the condos, or?
No, well, my assumption was the lighting was in regard to the commercial parking lot.
The landscaping. So this is amending the site plan. So I was looking at the entire site. So for the landscaping, it would be landscaping requirements that would normally be for the entire site. For the lighting, it would normally be for the entire site. Looking at what would be needed to bring it up to current standards, just like if the fire lane isn't currently up to current standards, then that would be brought up to standards. Currently, there's not reserved parking space for people with disabilities. That would be brought up to current standards. So I'm just looking at how does also the landscaping and the lighting not meet the current standards. And as I read it, the board could decide that they're satisfied with what's there, or they could require it to go up to standard. So I was just trying to highlight that as an issue for your consideration.
Thank you. Answer your question?
Yeah.
Anything else?
I don't think so, no.
Okay.
I got a few.
Okay.
So I'm a little confused by police and fire comments because as the applicant stated in 2024, they had no issues or concerns. And I pulled up the report, I pulled up the original map, and that entrance hasn't changed. What you've got there is the same as what we had in 2024, and they said they had no concerns. So I'm really confused by that. That's one. Second is the comment about the driveway. No more than 3 buildings off from a single driveway. So I'm struggling to find the commercial lot as a driveway. I'm even struggling even more with the adjacent residential use, where I'm looking at a Google picture of it right now, and it's not a driveway. It's just an open area for parking, and I would consider that parking spaces, not a driveway. So I'm not embracing the idea of having issues with the duplex having access, and we have too many units. I just don't see that as being a driveway. And it's an easement to the property, so that's that. The only item that I'm really seeing that we need to find out whether or not we have to deal with directly is the lovely issue of slopes. And I think this is one where we have to make a decision whether or not it's any slope or if it's the overall slope of the parcel that we're talking about. So that's really where I'm laying on this, and I know you provided some comments, and I don't have a direct question on that right now, but I don't have any question at all of the traffic, over the parking, the access. I mean, it hasn't changed from where they submitted previously, and I'm a little curious about the change in stance by police and fire, especially since we are cross-hatching and removing the parking spaces on the corner to provide that full turn radius. That's where I'm at for now.
Thanks. Hubie.
Yeah, a couple things. I concur with Dustin. It is confusing about the whole fire department, police department thing. Looks like they're looking at different prints or something or other. That certainly needs to be straightened out and understood. Also, as I've mentioned before, there's a couple of inconsistencies in the plans. The erosion prevention plan shows the driveway at, I believe that's a 14-foot shared driveway. The site plan shows it as a 20-foot shared driveway. So, which is it?
20.
It's 20, okay. Excuse me, and also we already straightened out the addition is 900 square feet, not 1,100 square feet, as shown on the, on the erosion plan. Because the public work comment that they need more information regarding stormwater and so on. Yeah, I find it difficult to comment about the 20% slope issue until we know what's going to be happening as far as stormwater is concerned, because the whole idea of not allowing, discouraging on 20% slopes is because of erosion and so on. Unless we know how the stormwater is going to be handled here, how this impervious surfaces are going to be managed and so on, it's hard to make a judgment on the 20% slope issue.
You want me to discuss that?
Yeah, I just wondered.
Yeah. So this is something we looked into. So the state rules for stormwater management practices is what we would call, so it's two different types of stormwater permits the state issues. The town relies on both of them. The construction general permits for erosion control will be required to obtain a construction general permit from the state. That's why we have an erosion control plan.
Yeah.
The operational permit comes into effect on a developed site such as this if you expand the impervious up to a total of an acre. So an existing developed site, if you expand impervious, so the totality of the site is up to an acre, you fall under operational stormwater requirements. So that's your ponds, right? So we're well below an acre out here. So we won't qualify for a state stormwater discharge permit. We will qualify and obtain a erosion control permit.
Okay, so the erosion control permit, that would show the old construction 101. Where's the water going to go?
Yep. Well, there's certainly a grading plan.
Yeah, okay.
But
So
that's your silt fence, your construction entrance, your, seating, mulching specifications, your limit
right.
of
So that would be
disturbance.
reviewed and say, okay, the seating is appropriate.
Yep.
We're going to get sheet drainage, that
Yep.
kind of thing,
Yep.
and so on.
Yep, so that it would qualify as, they have 3 levels, low risk, moderate risk, and individual. This would be the lowest of the latter.
Yeah. So that again, so approval of that permit would be an element in discussion of the 20% slope.
Yep.
Waiver or not waiver.
We would certainly be agreeable to a conditional approval for that permit, certainly.
Also, the 14 spaces in the back of the store, the way that if I'm looking at this plan correctly, It looks like all of those spaces are in the gravel area,
Yep.
outside of the paved area.
Yep.
So is that their intention to have that area paved? It'd be kind of hard, I mean, I know you can do some striping on gravel, but it doesn't last very long. You know,
No.
So how do
No.
you delineate?
Nope, we would stripe the spaces to the west and the pavement, but the ones in the gravel in the back would not be striped.
Put spike strips down instead of.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. So, right, currently, are there any entrance or exit signs? Because the site plan shows this traffic flow.
Yep.
In this counterclockwise direction.
Yep.
Are there any signage there that suggests that?
So we were gonna propose that, or we're showing in our site plan, pavement markings. So there's not a great place for a sign as you come in that easterly entrance. You know, I think the canopy's too high, putting one in the pavement right there. I mean, we could potentially put one in the island, but pavement markings were what we were gonna rely on for that counterclockwise circulation pattern. In the rationale for going counterclockwise, originally the site plan approved in 1982 went clockwise. The reason we're going counterclockwise is basically to appease the fire chief at sketch plan, you know, didn't want to have the emergency access be over those underground storage tanks. So that's why we are going with a counterclockwise motion now.
And let's see. I think I had a couple others. Oh, okay, this is probably more for staff. On page 4, where it has district dimensional requirements, where it says minimal lot frontage, off-site water and sewer 100 square feet, or 100 feet, and then the proposed is not applicable. So why is that? I mean, this I'm confused, as usual. So what is considered a lot? The application says there's 4 lots, 2 for the duplex, 1 for the store, and then there's 1 remaining.
Can you go to our plat, Ken? So the remaining is the balance, but the other 3 are footprint lots under the commercial building and under each of the, this is it here, so. So we have a commercial footprint lot.
Right.
And we have a footprint lot over the westerly and easterly duplex units. And then the 4th lot is just merely the balance.
Okay, so it's a math game, kind of.
It's a homeowners association attorney's game.
Okay, because that was like, on page 2, where it talks about a minor subdivision is defined as a subdivision containing 3, 4, or 5 lots, all of which front on an existing street. Well, all of those lots don't front on an existing street.
Yes, and footprint lots for zoning purposes have thrown towns for a little bit of, put a little wrench in the game for some time now. Essentially, the lots are not meant for zoning purposes, right? They're not meant to be frontage, minimum lot size, coverage, all comes with lots. They're merely for aiding the attorney, the real estate attorney, for developing the homeowners association documents. In my experience, banks like to see footprint lots over more standard condominiums.
Okay, so we're keeping the banks and the lawyers happy and,
More or less, but as you drive by the site,
yeah.
Doesn't
Well,
look
it's,
any different.
yeah, like I say, it's a little confusing.
No,
So
I get it.
There are 4 lots
Oh,
there,
yeah.
and it's like,
no, I get it. Certainly.
and how it meets the regulation when it says that they're supposed to all front on the street.
Yep.
Well, like, I guess kind of, but anyway, it's
I understand.
I guess a minor point.
Yep.
And yeah, I think that's what I have for the moment anyway. Might have something else, but
You reserve your
Yeah.
right to call
Yeah,
another question.
yeah.
Thank you, Hubie. Sharon?
You covered almost everything. I am a little concerned about the shared driveway, because it says to me about the shared driveway and,
Microphone.
Microphone,
Oh, sorry, Hugh. I am a little concerned about the the driveway, because it does seem to me that even though part of it's commercial, that it is being shared with another house, and I'm a little concerned about the 20% slopes, because even though it's going to get a permit, our regulations do say not to disturb 20% slopes, and I just don't think I have enough information. And that's about it.
Thank you. I have one quick question is on the commercial addition. How much larger than the existing temporary structures that are there is this? Or does this essentially replace?
Yeah, do you have a, it's roughly 50% bigger.
Okay.
Or, I'm sorry, it's twice the size.
Yeah.
Twice the size.
Okay.
It doesn't go back much further into the rear of the property. It's merely just taking the same thing and doing it over. And the primary purpose of that addition is for storage and refrigeration space.
Mhm.
A very small portion of it would go to you're saying increasing the deli?
Yeah, maybe move the deli over there because it's so compact where it is. Maybe a portion of it would be new deli space and then a walk-in cooler potentially.
Right.
So the actual floor, sales floor portion of the store wouldn't increase very much.
I guess my question really is more directed around, you're taking up space that's currently not structure at all at the moment, right? If you're facing the back of the building,
Yeah.
you're going to the right from the edge of the building to the right and filling up the area that does not have building
That's
structure.
correct. The building has a
Removing the
jog.
temporaries and,
Yeah, so the building has this jog right here.
right,
Right, so you can see the shadow actually right here of the existing temporary structure.
Yep.
And it protrudes a little bit further. I think it's 20 feet back. So yeah, we'd be filling the gap from that the temporary structure goes away, but we'd be filling this gap right here.
okay, thank you.
Yep.
Stephanie,
No questions.
Nick,
Yeah, I have a few. Okay. Brian, you had mentioned once diagonal striping, but you referred to hatching numerous times on those four
Okay.
spots.
Yep.
Is there any differentiation between
No, I'm
those two?
sorry, same thing.
Okay,
Yep.
okay. Wanted to make sure
I'm
that was the
referring to
case.
this area right.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
Tagging on to a question that Hubie had earlier about the one-way flow for traffic, is there any thought about connecting a physical barrier between the island and the building?
Physical island building. So you're
To
saying-
ensure that
Right here?
correct.
Um.
To ensure that that would be a one-way.
No, I don't believe that's something we would consider as far as like fuel deliveries and stuff. I would imagine that space is utilized. So, no, I don't.
It would create some issues with delivery trucks getting in and out. The other issue that is with the gas island is, I mean, I understand the one-way flow, but people's gas ports are on different sides of their vehicles, and some of them have to go this way, and some of them have to go that way to get to the right pump based on what's open at the time.
Hmm.
So if that was there, I can see some issues.
Okay. Is the one-way flow in effect right now?
It is not, and that's out of my not knowing in the last 22 years that that was part of the approval.
Okay. So this would be a change.
This would be a
And-
change
got it.
to what is there right now.
Yeah, it's a change from the approval was clockwise, and what we're
Right.
proposing to change is counterclockwise.
What I meant was it was just a change in my understanding of the whole
Right.
building and its flow.
Right. Okay. Okay.
Nice 1982 blueprints.
Yeah.
Plan with all sorts of details on it.
The proposed dumpster enclosure is off to the right where they currently are now.
Right.
I noticed, is there bottle and can collection still on that side of the building?
We don't have a redemption center anymore.
Okay,
Don't
so
know.
that's no longer service. Got it. So that would have been a concern of mine. If the proposed dumpster is front loading or rear loading, do you know if that is the most effective location for it? Depending on the truck, how would it approach the dumpster if it's a one-way flow?
Yeah, I mean, there's 45 feet roughly.
I see what you're saying.
From here to there.
Yeah.
You know, so I would see a truck coming in and, you know, they have to swing by and get it this way, back into here and go back out that way.
That's feasible.
It's 45 feet, pretty wide. Typical parking two-way aisle is 24.
Okay.
Sometimes what we'll do, Nick, if it looks like it's tight, is we'll angle it a little bit to help with that. So maybe what we could do is slide it down a little bit further, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
I can tell you the trucks that come now are rear loading trucks.
So
But I
they would
don't
do the
know about-
opposite, where they would have to up pass it, then back into the.
Yeah,
That'd be
which
true.
would probably be easier.
Okay.
Yeah.
If it was front loading, it would be a little tougher than rear loading.
So maybe determining which is the best option for your development and
Sure, I
making that
could have
potential change.
Whichever one is best for the flow,
Right.
do it.
Right now, Mr. Chairman, I think that's all I have.
Thank you. Okay,
Got one additional.
sure.
So the question on, looking at a picture from 2023, and it shows a delivery truck parked on the right side of the building as you're pulling in where it would be the drive-through space right now. And it's parked right
Oh, I'm
adjacent to
sorry.
the gravel, and it would be right in line with the
Yep.
driveway. So what mitigation or what options or what would you have in place to make sure that drivers aren't necessarily blocking that drive because it's, you know, a spot that they would stop now?
I would say typically in instances like that, it would be signage. Signage,
Where would you want them to go though? Because
Like
the rest
in-
of it's drive-through.
yeah, in this specific spot, you know, whether there's a loading zone sign on the end of the building,
Mhm.
or if there's a no idling sign, you know, here, but the truck you're showing is kind of, you know, right here.
Yeah, which again, I'm just looking at this, if we're looking at that as a drive entrance,
Yeah.
you know, vehicle park there is gonna be potentially an obstacle for
Yeah.
the residential use.
Yeah.
So that would be something to make sure that we keep that clear, again, for the fire department as well. You don't want any
Yeah.
obstacle in the way of that.
Yeah.
Okay, it's just,
Would that be as easy as striping on the ground?
Yeah, whether it's most effective to hatch, like this over here,
Yep.
you know, or no unloading, or a sign, or, you know, however we think the best way to go about, you know, giving direction to people loading and offloading.
where's the
we're
entrance to
open
the
to-
store? Where's it, for, when they're bringing supplies in, where do they enter the store from?
Right here. Right here.
So it's something to think about. Is that's the point that they're trying to offload to. So even if you move the truck around,
Yeah.
you're gonna have
Yeah.
you're gonna have conflict with the traffic that you want to flow
Yeah.
in the car.
Well, it come in this way, park here, and from here to there is about 50 feet.
Okay.
You know, so that's where we want them to be. We just don't want them to be on the edge of the pavement. We want them to be close to the building.
Okay. That would be an enforcement thing that you guys would have to put in place.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's really no concern now because there's no residential in the back. But
Okay.
Okay. Trevor, you just want to double check, dude?
No, I'm okay.
Okay. Hubie, did you come up with
Yeah.
something new?
Well, I would just add to that discussion is that certainly, how that area is gonna be plowed would be important, okay?
Yeah.
If it's plowed only to the extent of the paved area, you
Yeah.
know, and then as far as the access, and let's face it, we all know what's gonna happen if there's a truck block in there. People are gonna take the path of least resistance, and they're gonna go the other way. So signage is gonna be important, I think, in order to provide the direction that is most optimum.
Yeah.
And again, likewise with the parking spaces in the back, you know, are we gonna get the full plowing in order to make those full 14 spaces available? So the way the paving is right now kind of suggests that's where the snow plowing would end. But anyway, that would need to be clear that all of those spaces are gonna be accessible.
Yeah. We got our snow storage area dedicated here, so the assumption would be that they would get.
And snow
You clear those spaces?
snow removal for
Yes. Yep.
snow removal for the driveway goes to the turnaround, or On the
Yeah,
upper
I
level?
would imagine the same outfit.
Say that again, please.
the snow removal for the driveway for the duplex goes to the turnaround to the,
Yeah.
yeah, if it's to there.
Yeah.
Yep.
I
Yep.
understand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think, I'm sure you don't plow your own driveway, do you?
No.
So whoever's hired to plow the commercial drive would likely plow the residential.
Sharon, did you come up with anything new? No. Stephanie, you still have none?
Nope.
Nick, you have any more new ones? Okay, I would take a motion to open public hearing on this.
So moved.
Moved by Dusty. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Trevor. All those in favor of opening up a public hearing on this, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. At this point in time, we have folks that are here in the room. We have folks online that have the ability to weigh in, ask questions to staff and to chair. And I would ask for a show of hands or any indication that you have some interest in doing so. I'll remind everybody that we've provided the oath except for someone who came in a little bit late, so we would certainly offer the oath for you again. I'm seeing no hands in the room. I'm seeing no hands online. Okay.
Move it close. Public hearing.
All right. I have a movement to close the public hearing. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Sharon. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of closing the public hearing? Say
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Okay. Board members. Staff has an original recommendation on this to do a continuance, and I don't see any reason not to do a continuance on this. I think there's plenty of detail that we still need. The questions really about doing a continuance or not is whether or not there are a couple of items that were really up to us as to whether or not we would be entertaining or would have any direct feeling about, not the least of which was the lighting and the landscape, and certainly the 20% slope, which seems to be the thorn in everyone's side at this point. So I would just kind of go around our board here and just give you a quick straw poll, if you would, of your ideas of how we would want to continue with this. Either we do want to continue with this, or if you feel that there's something that you would not want to see coming back to us. So Nick, I'll start with you.
I would support in continuing, or continuance, a few suggestions. I would recommend lighting. Driveway to access the residential section, that would need to be lit. I feel like it would be more important, not only just to have access and clear delineation between the parking lot, circulation flow, and the driveway, but also the residents there. Just makes sense to me to have some form of public lighting. particularly in the back, I noticed, and Hubie pointed out, there's a sign that says currently, please do not consume alcohol on this property. If it's dark back there, maybe lighting would help with that if it's an issue. Access to the driveway of 3 residences versus 2 residences off of the parking lot and 1 residence off the parking lot. I guess semantics would we'd have to discuss that. I'm not opposed to either. I'd like to hear the discussion further. From here on out, that's my thought.
Thanks, Nick. Stephanie?
I'm definitely open to a continuance. Just getting clarification on all the things that we've talked about is really, for me, the biggest thing. And I agree with Sharon. I don't think there's enough information on the slopes yet to really determine that one. So I'm for a continuance for them to address the things that were laid out more thoroughly in the staff report.
Thanks. Sharon?
I agree with Stephanie. I'm concerned about the slopes.
Microphone.
I agree with Stephanie. I'm concerned about the slopes, and I was also looking where the snow storage area is, because that I think when we did the walk, that was sort of supposed to be the buffer and the trees and the landscaping, but we're going to put snow there, so it doesn't usually work. It usually sort of kills the trees. And then I do think we need perhaps some of the standards of lighting, because we were walking and found a hypodermic needle, so maybe the lighting would help people not be back there.
Right.
I mean, not like, beacons, but
Potentially activity of
Down
having a
lights,
driveway there might help with that as well, but yes, I agree.
that's it.
Okay, thanks. Hubie?
Yeah, ditto on the lighting, and I think that, lighting could be on the building. It wouldn't necessarily need conduit and stanchions. And as far as what the exact criteria per the regulation, as far as foot candles on the road, would it necessarily need to meet that, but just simply to provide some kind of lighting, okay? Because apparently there is the question about whether lighting is a requirement necessarily for this, but I think we as a board could request lighting that would be beneficial to the area, might not necessarily meet foot candles for something similar. So, signage, I think that the whole flow of the parking area, there needs to be some better, signage and direction and so on, no entry for private drive, that kind of thing. To try to control the traffic flow there, but I think that's a difficult lot, and it's kind of like figure 8 racing almost there. There's a kind of lot of crazy activity going on there, so I think signage would help to improve the traffic flow.
Thank you, Hubie. Dusty?
So, I actually think we could get through this tonight. Because most of the items, number 1, proposed height, that's just a condition. We state that the buildings aren't over 40 feet. We just restate the zoning requirement. We don't need them to tell us how high they're going to be. We just need to tell them they can't go above the limits of the zone. I mean, that's not a big deal. I don't think a waiver is required for the driveway, because I don't believe the existing gravel area is a driveway. Even though it's used to access a residential property, I don't see it as a driveway. So I think we're still sitting at 2 residentials and 1 commercial unit from the entrance and egress from that lot. Number 3 is the slope, and I think we should take a swing at that tonight. ADA requirements they've already met. The circulation route, I think, is signage. And even to Nick's point, they could potentially put up orange cones going from the island, from the traffic island to the gas island, not to restrict the gas traffic, whatever, or trucks if you need, because they could be removable. So I think there's options on that could be done to meet that. Number 6, I don't think it's an issue. I think there's a lot of landscaping on that. There's a lot of trees. It's a residential access. We're doing it. Number 7 on the lighting, we're not changing the commercial use. The lighting for the commercial use is already in existence. We're not changing that. We're adding residential. We don't generally put personal requirements for residential lighting on residential uses. It's up to the area that's being done. There's already, what lighting is there had been approved at some point in time in the past. They're not looking to change that. So I don't see that that's even rises to the level of modification. Number 8, I think anything that the Public Works has asked could be conditioned. Everything they're asking for could just be a condition of approval. And that if the applicant doesn't like their requirements, then they would come back for modification. Number 9, again, I think the police and fire department are flip-flopping, and I'm not really recognizing what they're concerned about because they've approved this before in this configuration. So in my mind, the only thing we have to do is discuss the slopes, and if it's truly sleep slopes or not. I don't think it rises to the level of a waiver request, to be quite frank. So I'm at.
Okay. Trevor?
Well, I have this hobby of looking at steep slope regulations around the country.
Yeah.
And I just saw one today. It was the city of Summit, New Jersey. And they said that if you had an area of 1,000 square feet or less, then you didn't need a variance. Is that what it's called? Waiver.
Yep.
You didn't need a waiver. So I know that this one is like 1,600 feet, and kind of from being out there, it didn't seem that steep to me. So I suppose that would, that's kind of my feeling, is that a waiver for that would be okay, I think. Although, we're still grasping towards different regs for the zoning, but for this thing, I think it's okay.
Okay. Any other questions or any other thoughts about the rest of it? The police fire report, the lighting, the landscaping,
Well, yeah, I think that should get. There seems to be confusion, particularly with the fire people, that about what's going on. So I guess that should be straightened out.
Okay. So I'll ask this question going backwards then, given what Dusty brought up. So, and I'll start with you, Trevor. Would you consider the idea of approving this evening with conditions, or would you prefer to see this continued till the?
I'd go along with whatever the rest of the board wanted.
Okay. Thank you. Dusty, I have your feeling on this.
Approve with conditions.
Yeah. UB?
And I think there's too many questions out there still. I think it needs to go back and come back with some of these suggestions that some of the things we've talked about. So, I don't think we'd be piling on too many things, too many conditions and so on. So let's get a better set of plans dealing with some of these things.
Get it more buttoned up.
Yeah, it needs to be tidied up a little bit. Just the notion that there's two different sizes of buildings and two different widths of driveways, these instances, I know it's minor, but anyway, just needs to be cleaned up.
Sharon? Thank you for using the microphone.
I think it should be continued. I think there's too much left in the open, and I also don't agree on the 20% slope thing, so, I'm not ready to waive it.
Okay. Stephanie?
I'm still in favor of continuance because Public Works said they didn't want all those things as conditions. They were clear they wanted it to get kicked back, so I'm going to err on that side.
Okay. Nick?
I would be fine with either, honestly, but I would more or less involve the applicant themselves. What would your preference be? Is all of these conditions being potentially approved tonight, that you have a clear understanding of what we're expecting, or come back with another set of plans?
So our preference would be to be approved. And as Dusty is
Surprise, surprise.
as mentioned, when we have conditions, it's
Yeah.
at our risk. So essentially, if you give Public Works the ability to sign off on their conditions or not, I'm subject to whatever they want to do, basically. If I have a problem with that, we would then file an amendment and come back in front of you folks, which is going to take a lot more time than a continuance. I don't anticipate that being the case, which is why we'd rather be approved. I see it as it's at our risk, which I'm more than happy to take.
Okay.
Can I offer an opinion?
Sure.
Not on the application, but on the way we use the application, the approvals. Conditions are a really strong tool for us. And if we want to see something, if there's a question about whether or not it should be yes or no, we can make a stand that it's yes. And as the applicant just said, it's their risk to accept that. I mean, if it's a clear statement of what we need to have, such as if the, on a lighting plan, there can be no point that exceeds the maximum allowable foot candles per spot, we can put that in. If they don't like that, they have to come back to us on this. So, I mean, there's the ability to put that fine tuning in the conditions. Yeah, there could be a lot of them, but that can be very precise, and it puts them on the hook for coming back and disputing those conditions. Not to say the items like the 20% slope, which is a discussion point, is necessarily can be conditioned. But like Public Works comments can be conditioned, Public Works requirements. And we can go with what Public Works wants and put them in there. And it still is on the applicant to be able to deliver that before they can move forward. So I think it's worth remembering that those are tools that we can use and apply some pretty strict requirements that aren't open, that don't have to be reinterpreted. They can be black or white.
And I have been asked that question before, or been facing an approval. Twice I've said, no, do not approve me tonight, because I wasn't comfortable. I did it once for the Essex experience, and I did it once for Pinewood like 2 years ago. Done it twice. So it's not a bad question. I have been faced with approval and said, no, don't approve me tonight. I'm not comfortable with what's in front of me.
So anyway, that's just my personal opinion.
Okay. Sharon?
So, I am not leaning towards this, but so if we approved it with conditions, how do we deal with the 20% slope?
We don't, we discuss it tonight. That's why I felt that that's the item that we could discuss amongst ourselves.
Because that would be sort of built in, sort of like I think we've been doing with waivers a lot. I think you have to do the waiver in the beginning.
Well, I'm not looking for a
wanna do
waiver.
that.
Personally, I don't think there's a waiver, so I think that's part of the discussion that we would have. Number one, is it truly a 20% slope incursion? Is it, I'm just, those are the
I see
points
what you're
that,
saying.
and if it isn't, which it's not super clear, if it isn't, then there's
Clear
no
to
waiver
me.
required. Well, again, that's the
Right.
interpretive in the discussion back and forth. All the other items, and I agree with you, maps should be correct and all that, and that can be a condition. All maps are, need to be updated to, meet whatever the statements are. It's just that all that stuff doesn't need to be cycled back to another meeting necessarily. If there's an element that we want, that we can't hash out because we need some more information, absolutely continue it. What is it about the 20-foot slope that we need for more information other than the discussion back and forth?
I think we have the driveway issue. We also have the confusing police and.
That's
so-
right, and that's where we go around the table and find out if it's,
Right, but haven't we done that?
Yeah, I think we've kind of gone through there when we were talking about what.
no, this is, I'm not,
Yeah.
again,
This is an open conversation.
and this is why it's whether you want to continue or not. I'm offering an opinion that the only element that I find that can't be conditioned is the 20% slope discussion, which we could have tonight. That's my opinion only. I think everything else could be conditioned to meet the requirements that the staff is looking for, the requirements that the applicant's debating or disputing or whatever. And then we could, if we addressed or discussed this 20% slope, we might be able to get to a point of a votable point. Not a unanimous point, but a votable point. But, as you mentioned, if there are still elements that you feel you need more information on, then we can continue. If it's just that we haven't been able to get a decision point, I don't see that we need to continue. It's a discussion point.
Understanding. Go ahead.
Can I make a motion?
You have every right to make a motion.
I make a motion that we continue this application.
Okay, I have a motion on the table for continuance. Do I have a second?
Point of order. Doesn't it need to be date specific to
It would, yes. We would have to do that date specific.
Okay.
Which would be, Sharon, what would be the specific date that would be?
What's our next meeting date? I mean, typically, we're booking right now in November. But past history of this, other applications get bumped and we continue it to the next.
Available, yeah.
You guys have been holding us to application deadlines also
Right.
for the next meeting, where typically a continuance
Right,
is typically less. It's
Right.
usually 30 days, but
right,
in the last 2 weeks, though, we've been held to application deadlines,
yeah.
45 days.
I'm not going that way right now. So, but personally, I think the next meeting and we just have to readjust what's coming in.
But I think we have to have a specific date in order to.
So yes, but we meet, I guess, I'm sorry, I know you guys are meeting once a month, but we've been meeting twice.
We've been meeting twice a
And I
month.
don't know if we're meeting twice a month. I'd have to go up and look at the calendar,
It's-
you know?
I think we have the tentative schedule on the 18th is already booked for something else. And then it would be next one would be October, but I think October has stuff, correct? I'd have to go
Well,
back
it
and-
does. And we
Second
would
meeting in
probably-
October?
Yeah, the second meeting in October, I think.
Do we have two meetings in
Well,
October?
The reason I
Yeah.
mentioned that, Sharon, not to
Yeah.
be argumentative, but it's because September 11th is the deadline for the October 16th meeting.
Right.
So it's already, September 3rd,
Fourth,
4th? So it's at least past that.
right. I can go run up and look
We,
at,
I think the 16th might be the right one to say, and then if we couldn't make the 16th, then at that meeting, we can change it
we can renotice.
to
Well,
a different.
Correct.
Well, we have to renotice the abutters. We'll have to let them know too. So I think we want to put it on a date that, you
Yeah,
know, you're
I'm
going to
pulling
hear
up the
it.
calendar.
Yeah, the 16th would be tough for us.
I think we have a really
So what's better for you?
potentially full
November?
agenda for that day.
Yeah, I'd have to get it done by next Thursday.
It's for
And
November.
November 6th would be the first one in November.
Probably that would be the better date.
Yeah,
So
November
what,
6th.
what's good for you guys to flip things around?
If we're looking at a continuance, I think it has to be first meeting in November.
Then you could say that, but the motion, regardless of the date, the first DRB meeting in November.
No, we have to,
No.
we have to list a
Statute.
specific date. Has to continue to a date. So,
First
so
Thursday.
Sharon, would you care to amend your motion?
What date do we have?
November 6th.
I move to continue this application until November 6th.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion made by Sharon, seconded by Nick. Further discussion here on the board? Anyone?
Well, what do we want to discuss about steep slopes? Because I mean, the trouble seems to be is that there are steep slopes like on this property, but then where is the point where you say, well, you can't develop on it, and then what is the appropriate leeway? I guess we got to define that better.
I mean, I'm definitely encouraged from hearing that you read something from New Jersey that kind of more outlined that. It's definitely a direction that I'm hoping the planning commission will continue to take.
Yeah.
We'll be giving a more defined slope piece. Yes, Sharon.
Motions to continue or not?
Yeah, that's understood, but it was a question while we're in discussion. So
I would just say, as far as information regarding steep slopes, like we have a grading plan. We're showing where all the steep slopes are located. I don't know what else we can provide to you.
yeah, we're not at this point. We're in the middle of potentially continuing you. So
Unless the motion is withdrawn.
unless the motion was withdrawn,
So the other, if I may,
Sure.
what are we asking for? I think we should be clear on what it is that why are we continuing it? What information is it that we need? Is it applicant? Is it staff? What clarity?
But it is not debatable, so you can vote me down. You can't, it's just
we're not
Yes.
we're not debating. I don't think we're debating the motion. I think, but I do agree that if we have a first and a second made, and in our discussion, we can elect to outline specifically what the items are that we would want to see when it comes back, and then
If we're continuing it, which is the motion on the table,
Sure,
why are we continuing it? Or what information is it that we need
got it.
that we don't have? Otherwise, we're just pushing the discussion down the road. So what is it that we need from the applicant or staff
Yep.
to better clarify our discussion?
So Dusty, I'll start with you. If it's continued, what do you need?
I just want to have a discussion with the, I don't need any additional information from staff or applicant. It's just, I want to have a discussion with the board about the 20% slope.
Okay. Trevor, anything that you need specifically?
No.
No?
No. I think, we have to thrash out the 20%.
Yep. Okay. Hubie?
Yeah, I agree that that's kind of the elephant in the room, is the 20% slope business. And one of the things that, it's the age-old, is there an impact? Yes, there is. Is there an adverse impact? Well, that's the part for discussion. Is there an unnecessary, is there an undue, unnecessary adverse impact?
Undue
Yeah.
adverse.
So one of the things about what's confusing on this 20% slope business is the site plan is showing where the current 20% slopes are, okay? I think what would be good on a site plan would be to show, once the final grading is done, where are the 20% slopes? Okay, because it's like, the reason for the whole discussion is about erosion control, or, the consequences of having erosion problems because of steep slopes. So, once the project is done, where are the slopes? And then what is that impact? Okay, what is the final impact? All right.
Yeah.
So I think that there needs to be another level of plan that says, here's what's existing, here's what it looks like when it's done.
Can I participate in this?
Go ahead.
If and we can do that. We certainly can. But what you're getting into is engineering decisions as far as what a proposed slope is. So Public Works details have acceptable, and I would say preferred, slope, requirements of 1-on-2 to a 1-on-3. 1-on-3 being the lighter of the two is still a 33% slope. So that is a widely accepted grading tool, standard, to a 1-on-3 slope. That's considered a mowable slope. 1-on-3, when you look at a 20% standard for existing slopes, if I'm proposing something that meets Public Works standards and general engineering practices for a mowable slope, I'm being penalized for that. You know what I'm saying?
So, yeah, no, so this is really the crux of the problem, if you will,
Right, yeah,
is the 20% slope that is being impacted. Are we making it worse or less? And if so, why and how? And so yeah, you can make a slope that's maybe more than 20% that fits the town standards,
Yeah.
but you're taking measures that will prevent the erosion problem that might occur if you were impacting a slope that you were not directly impacting, you were adjacent to a 20% slope. I think that's some of the where the confusion lies. If you're doing something here, and there's a 20% slope over here, and now your stormwater is somehow impacting that, is that the problem?
I think, and I don't mean to cut you off here, Vivian, but I think what's on the table at the moment is to talk about it. If steep slope, if it's the only item is steep
Yeah.
slope, then I would say that Dusty is correct in that we could just hash this out about steep slope this evening. Are there other items other than the steep slope that you would want to see outlined?
And I said, the lighting is still
For a
the
continuance.
question, and the signage, the flow, those are probably the.
Those are questions that you would want
Yeah,
the applicant
more
to-
clarification.
More
sure.
clarification.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Sharon, other than steep slope,
Uh,
are there other items that you would want to see?
The driveway, I'd like to hear from the police chief and the fire chief.
Well, we did hear from them, right, in their comments.
Right.
We-
but
it's
confusing.
It is, yeah. Was there anything else?
No,
No, okay.
just my motion, it's not debatable.
Yep. I get that. Was there anything specifically, Sharon, Sharon. Sorry, I didn't get Stephanie, is there anything specifically that you would like to see if this were continued?
I mean, I guess I'm just going back to Kent's original statement that Public Works was adamant they didn't want all those things conditioned. So, I'd like to see those things more addressed. I understand where Dustin's coming from, but I also am just gonna stick with the department that's the expert and is stating they don't want those as conditions. They want them more fleshed out.
Okay. Thanks. Nick?
I feel like we've already discussed what
Yeah.
we're asking of the applicant, and they've taken notes.
Okay. So the motion is on the table. It's been seconded, and we've had our discussion at this point. All those in favor of continuing this application for this evening with to November 6th as the next available date, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries 6-1. Dusty is the dissenter. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for the walk around earlier today.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. The next item that we have on our agenda, is application that had been removed, which brings us to other business. Staff, do we have other business to talk about this evening?
I do not have anything.
None.
None? And any other business for the board?
Mr. Chair, in light of the continued lively debate on slope issues, I'm wondering if we could request, if you could maybe reach out to the chair of the PC and see if we could have a joint discussion on slopes, in specifically how we could frame, how the PC could potentially frame a regulation to accommodate slopes in a better way.
I think that's a great suggestion, and we are lucky enough to have a steep slope expert that's working both sides of the.
Yeah, but I think
Yeah.
getting that in front of both boards, I think would be, and everybody be participating in that discussion. I think there's so many questions on that, and there's so many differing opinions on that, that it's time to get rid of the opinions.
I would agree with that. I think from my perspective, I would love to see specific, more direction from the Planning Commission about where the 20% slope fits, right? And as I said earlier, and Trevor, with your finding of the information from Jersey
Yeah.
is helpful. It's a better outline than just saying that 20% is no good. And
Yeah.
so having some greater specifics about where that 20% actually fits in with
Yeah.
with development would be super helpful for us.
Because there could be an old mound system on the property that's
Right.
greater than 20%.
We haven't even officially really weighed in specifically on man-made versus not man-made. We have an
Right.
idea about it, but
Right. That's the big question that I have, is that
I've submitted.
they're using
I've
this
submitted-
LiDAR,
I'm sorry.
you know, for determining, but as I've said, if you have a stump, an old stump out there, and if LiDAR's picking that up
Yep.
and showing that as a 20% slope, so is that really, part of the criteria? So
Yeah.
how it's measured, I think, is important as well.
Yeah, well, I went out there today, and it really didn't seem like a 20% slope to me.
Right.
Yeah.
We didn't really get there, though. We were not
We
there.
went around it completely.
We went around it.
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but still, if that had been staked out, like the largest significant chunk of that lot that showed the 20% slope, if that had been flagged to say, here's the 20%, and here's this particular 20% slope that's showing up on LiDAR, what do you think? And I think I agree with you, is that, yeah, if you look at the thing as a whole, it did not seem, but, so I have a real question about how it's measured using the LiDAR and so on.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
For me, it's really about, like, there's 20%, and is the 20% slope, is it over 10 feet? Is it over 100 feet?
Yeah.
Is it over 1,000 feet? Where is that? Where does the impact really come into play? And I believe in, in some cases, if you're affecting 20% slope, but you're building into the slope, is that as much of an impact as you would be if you're just
yeah.
flattening it all, or?
Well, he brings up, if in the construction of a roadway, you're making ditches, well, the slope of the ditches that's
Right.
allowed by the town public works is greater than 20%. So now, if you've created some 20%, so is it, wait, do we need a net? Or, it is confusing, to say the
Yeah.
least, is the whole, how it's measured, so.
I did send something, which keeps not getting here, and is supposed to be on today's packet, about some research I did on man-made slopes versus,
I think I got it.
yeah, you're the only one that got it.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll send out the this thing from Summit.
Yeah, that would be great.
But that needs to get to the PC,
It
only
does,
because
yeah.
the PCs, as you guys have said, we got a regulation now that seems to say shall and shall not, and
It's too vague.
It's too vague.
It's too vague for development, from my
Right.
perspective.
So I kind of
Because
feel,
nothing is going to be perfect and fit it perfectly. And so to get away from everybody's concern about issuing waivers, that regulation needs to be expanded and flushed out so that we have clear understanding of what is actually an adverse impact versus just saying 20% isn't enough.
Right.
It's not enough. And we need it flushed out more. So I completely was going to mention that too, to say we need to have a joint meeting with the PC to flush that out, because they need to flush out that regulation so we can do our job in an easier and more quicker fashion.
and as big of an issue as this is, I would suggest the meeting be strictly to discuss slopes.
Agreed.
Correct.
Because it needs to be to the point that you can look at it, and you can look at it, and I can look at it, and all have a pretty good idea of what we're looking at, and have to interpret, a couple variables based on, is it this much area, is it this much area, or
Sharon, would that be a work group type meeting? So,
It would be a workshop. The question, I guess, that we can have maybe flexibility with, are we gonna do it on a DRB? We'll have to poll people to see
Right.
what dates are available. Are you guys going to a planning commission meeting, or are they? So,
Wouldn't it have to be the PC meeting, because we're not supposed to be directing?
the DRB would be guest to the PC.
We'd be your
PC
guest,
is
'cause
the-
yeah.
we can't direct regulations. I would like to.
There had to be
Right,
a
well,
warned
there-
meeting
the PC
necessarily?
Yeah, because there's two boards. You got, if there's more than 4 members of this board meeting at once, it has to be warned.
Yeah,
Oh, okay, because of the number of.
anyhow, we'll
Right,
be back
'cause
to
that
you on
becomes-
when.
right.
Thank you.
And I don't think we should,
Yeah.
I don't think this should be
Probably
delegates. I think everybody should be
Yeah,
participating.
agreed.
Yes. Can I ask a question? So this is a topic that the PC's working on. Are they getting close to making a recommendation?
Well, yes. I mean, we're getting closer. Sharon's done a lot of work, and
I wish you would get the stuff I sent you last time, because I updated it.
but we are getting closer, and there's different places approach it in different ways, and I want to look more. The Summit was the first one I found where they recognize that if there's, I guess, a small area greater than 20%, you don't have to get a waiver for that. And like, it was 1,000 square feet was the number they used.
Okay.
So,
I guess where I was going with that is I was wondering if the recommendations might be ready in like a month or like 6 months or like what your time frame is.
it could be a month.
Okay, because that might coordinate well with here's your proposed recommendations, here's the DRB to, it might all coordinate really well together.
Okay.
Well, if they got,
And even if
I-
you're too far in, it's still discussion
Yeah.
they need to hear.
I think it's just a matter of finding the time that we can all meet, because
Yeah.
regardless of what the group comes up for recommendations, all of the PC and all of the DRB is not at the table at the same time
right.
for this particular item.
Right. Okay.
I had another thought real quick before we take that motion. Sharon, maybe the whole idea with the minutes.
2 in one night?
I know. Is just if they provide a paper copy for everybody at the meeting, if there's been significant changes. And then the board, then you would have the draft copy to look at and compare the changes in front of you, and that might be something that you could then sign at the end of the night. And it might not require that second meeting or the delayed signage. Anyway,
I think-
I'm done.
Yeah. How does the board feel about that? Would you feel you have time to read through the minutes right before the meeting or as we're going through and?
I feel that would be fine, but what would be the deadline that staff would need in order for those to get ready, printed,
It
and
depends. It depends. I think, I really don't know what to say at this point, but.
I mean, previously I had,
If there's changes that I've made and you guys haven't had the chance to see them, or if I'm bringing them to you tonight's meeting, I think that you should have more time to look at them rather than a quick thing. I think you should just probably do this top as well. I think it's come to surface because we got so far behind with minutes. But still understand Dusty's point.
Let's roll and let's see how next meeting's minutes go. And we can pick it up after. I think that this is because we had so many and it went for so long. Let's reevaluate after the next couple of meetings and how many changes and if they're grammatical or substantial.
I'm not doing it. I've spoken too much tonight.
Thank you.
Dusty made me do this.
any other business that we'd like to discuss this evening? And staff will make sure that we send out a poll to everybody. We can see if we can get something together. I will ask the quick question, does it have to be a Thursday night, or could it be an alternate night that would, as a work group?
I'll speak to Catherine about that.
Yeah.
And,
I'm in favor of adding
Yeah.
another night to the,
Yeah.
I'm just asking the questions.
Yeah. We'll get back to you.
All right, sounds good. That being said, I guess I would probably entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
All right. Motion made by Stephanie, seconded by Trevor. All those in favor of adjourning for the evening, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
8:22 p.m.
8:22 p.m.
Ooh, Ken.
Recording stop.